And we're in. Welcome to an extraordinarily happy first here in the Good Listening To show. I have the enigmatic polymath that is Steve Furst, who is, well, let's call you Stephen Jonathan Furst, born 3967. You'll know who he is. He's a legend. He's got an alter ego, cabaret superstar, Lenny Beige. He is a legend, and his name is Lenny Beige. This is Steve Furst. You're a British comedian, actor, and writer. But that's not all. You're supremely polymathic in that you've also now become a theatre impresario. And I'd love to talk to you about Circle and Star, your new stage venture in taking over the tenureship and the artistic directorship of what was the Pentameters Theatre in Hampstead. So this is a first. It won't be very often you get flashed at the beginning of a show, Steve. Watch your story. That's essentially what I'm up to with the Good Listening To show. You'll be able to come in just a second, but this is a show in which I invite movers, makers, shakers, mavericks, influencers, and also personal heroes into a clearing or serious happy place as they all come to share with us their stories of distinction and genius. And Steve Furst, I first became aware of you many years ago when you were doing the orange adverts. The future's bright, the future's orange.
Mm-hmm.
But as we both know, the future's actually beige because it gets better every year. Welcome, thrice welcome to the Good Listening To show, Steve Furst.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you.
So I know you're a busy man, but how's morale and what's your story of the day, please, just to get us on the open road?
Morale is good. I'm all consumed with the opening of the Circle and Star Theatre.
Yes.
Which has really, this as a project only started to formulate in the summer. So from seeing a notice of eviction in the window of the old Pentameters Theatre, we will be opening in December, on December the 8th. So it's kind of been a frantic race to get a proposal together, to then raise a big chunk of money, to agree our lease, to ordering sound and lights, get a load of raft of technicians lined up to work there, and an amazing lineup for an opening season anyway, which is kind of putting us on the map. And also a lot of those shows are fundraiser shows because we need to employ a general manager going forward, as I know you'll appreciate, being a theatre runner yourself. So it's all very exciting. It's kind of new. A lot of these things are in my wheelhouse, as that expression goes, but there's many things that I'm learning on the job. And I'm sort of doing it single-handedly. I've got a creative director, Justin, who's working remotely, who did all the website and the design. But in terms of the day-to-day booking stuff in and researching, and I mean, I have to say ChatGPT has been an incredible tool. But it's tremendously exciting, and it's definitely a new chapter in my life.
And becoming a sort of landed gentry and also a theatre impresario was not necessarily in your wheelhouse until now.
No.
But congratulations on what looks a phenomenal launch. New stage, new voices, new stories. And I know you'll tell us all about this, but it's an intimate, independent Hampstead theatre where people, presence and artistry shine.
Yes.
Congratulations. What a great thing. I got in touch with you actually not knowing, almost the day it was announced. I happened to get in touch with you because we'd been on Facebook, and I've been, you know, there's an expression, what's meant for you won't pass you by. And then very spontaneously, because I do a lot of comedy improvisation with a mindset of yes and, you know, if you say yes more, windows of lubricated hinges can open. You immediately said yes, and I'm delighted to blow some extra happy smoke at you in your new creative endeavor, Steve Furst.
Pleasure.
Wonderful. So at the very end, there is a very exciting show as your QR code section, where I invite the audience to go exactly to Circle and Star. Just talk about the story of why it's called Circle and Star, first of all.
We didn't want anything to do with the previous residents who had been there 50 years and created an incredible legacy. We wanted to start afresh, and thinking of a name is a very difficult thing. And we spent about a week with many different ideas. We didn't want it to be site specific because we may be opening others. We didn't want it to be locale specific. We didn't want it to be, so didn't want to be the Horseshoe, didn't want anything about Hampstead in it. because obviously there's a Hampstead Theatre already. And also you have to kind of, every good idea you have, you type it into various search engines, and then you go, there's 24 of them in the country already. So you need to make it easier for the search engines. And Circle and Star seemed innocuous enough, but obviously Circle being all inclusive, a star having, connotations of theatrical connotations. And also the acronym, which arrived afterwards, was CAST, which we quite liked, it being cast. That was a sort of fortuitous accident. So, it's one of those things when you live with it for a few days and you play around with logos. And Michael, the logo tennis match was pretty intense. That looks too like the Pakistan flag. That looks too much like the old Russian flag. That looks like a star that's on an American tank. So you soften the star, you put that, but we were up against the clock. So we kind of had to give ourselves a deadline in order to get the website up. And I'm very, very happy with it. I don't feel that I've had to compromise integrity or artistic license or artistic taste for it either. I'm very happy with it. And it looks great on things like mugs and laminates and all sorts of things. So very happy.
And also, having a large forehead, we can use it as advertising space as well. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah, there you go.
And what I love is the fact that you're actually bringing to bear decades, bringing laughter, wit and heart to audiences everywhere, you personally, but then also applying that to the network that you've invoked to get this launch. It is a really exciting new beginning. And again, I congratulate you for it.
Thank you. I mean, whilst we are all about new voices, we are launching with older voices.
Yes.
Some new voices, but really just to say we've arrived. And yes, that's pulling on 30 years of being in the business and ask. Yes. I've always been very mindful of asking for favors. I'm one of those people that's like, at a very last resort, I'll ask for a favor.
Yes.
And so I've kept a lot in the bank. And then when I went to people like Matt Lucas and Dave Williams and Marcus Brigstock and just said, look, I'm not interested in money. I mean, I am, but I am much more interested in you donating an evening of your time. And
yes,
everyone I've asked said yes. There were some people who said yes, but couldn't do it because of commitment. But we'll dot those out throughout the year. We'll have various other fundraisers throughout the year. So yeah.
Yes. One of my favorite adages is it's all about the relationship, stupid. And I love the fact that you've actually got a relationship bank tenured over 30, 35 years, maybe more, of being in the business is an extraordinary way to, the time is right. And to quote Dr. Seuss, the time has come, the time is now. Yeah. And it is a wonderful time to just pull those favors in.
I mean, some would say I'm insane opening a theatre now, in terms of people going out and, a lot of places are closing, a lot of venues are closing, but kind of, I feel that because of where it is, Hampstead doesn't really have a small theatre anymore. It lost the New End Theatre, it lost the Pentameters. So it is an affluent area. People do like to go out. The pub itself that it's above is fantastically popular, serving great food. So, in terms of where it is and its proximity to the tube, it's sort of, it would be insane not to. And also it's an area that I know very well, and I sort of grew up nearby, and my mum worked in Hampstead. So, it feels like it's a coming home in many ways.
And may I ask, is it your stomping ground anyway? Do you live in Hampstead yourself?
I don't live there now. I'm about 15 to 20 minutes away on my bicycle. But I love that. I have, there are a lot of family friends, around that area. So it's very well known to me.
So it's going to be an enigmatic squeak on your push bike each time you go and be at the venue.
Yeah.
Love that.
An electric bike because it's all uphill, and I thought at my age I need a little bit of comfort in my life.
Yes, I'm still resisting the electric bike. In Bristol, I've got, my bike is my freedom. I often say that.
Yeah.
But I also have a mantra: no hill in Bristol defeats me. But I get Hampstead is pretty mountainous.
It's that thing of it's like I'm at the bottom. And then it's all the way to pretty much the highest point in London. And, I used to do it on a cycle, but I think on a daily commute, you're like, in the winter, I can't face it. So who knows? Maybe I'll get super fit next year. I'll be back on my little bike. But yeah,
wonderful. It is my great delight, privilege to curate you through the Good Listening To Show, Stories of Distinction and Genius. There is going to be a clearing a tree, a lovely juicy storytelling exercise called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There's going to be some alchemy, some gold, a couple of random squirrels, a cheeky bit of Shakespeare, a golden baton, and a cake. So it's absolutely all to play for. This is a podcast, a radio show, and a live theatre show as well. But anyway, here we go. Any questions before I curate you through the journey?
No, I don't think so.
Go where you like, how you like, as deep as you like. And this is to get the story behind the story of you, Steve Furst, as you launch into your new creative endeavor.
Beautiful.
Marvelous. So yes, and as we go to print, I think it's you've got a wonderful counter counting down your launch pad of Circle and Star. And just a few minutes ago, it was 38 days, 4 hours and 10 seconds to go. So this is an exciting incoming. This is an exciting thing. So this is all set energetically in a clearing or serious happy place of my guest's choosing. So where would you say Steve Furst goes to get clutter-free, inspirational, and able to think? What I love about this is every guest interprets this differently. Steve Furst, what is your clearing, please?
Yeah, I mean, I need a literal clearing. I do have a metaphorical clearing. I got quite into transcendental meditation, so I've been doing that for a few years, and I suppose that is a clearing. But it's clearing my mind in an actual clearing, and I'm very lucky enough to live very close to Kensington Gardens, where I've lived pretty much near 40 years on and off. And there is a particular, and it is a clearing in the, you go through the trees and there's a large area and it looks back up to Kensington Palace. And I've said to my kids that when I'm cremated, this is where the ashes are to be scattered. I have a deep draw to this area and a deep pull to it. And that's only really got stronger. I moved away to villages. I moved away to the seaside. I've come back, and that's always my sort of happy place. I love the view. It's not like the top of Primrose Hill, which, if that's your happy place, that's brilliant. But you usually share it with 400 other people on any given day.
Yes, your ashes are going to get convoluted with the billions of other people.
Yeah, and that comes with noise, and a clearing should be exactly that. It should be a noise-free. It's a pocket in central London, and to have a pocket that's pretty quiet all the time is fantastic, and it's never let me down yet.
And may I congratulate you for your interpretation of that. Kensington Gardens in a clearing. When were you last there, Steve?
Yesterday.
I love that. And is this where you go to? Normally you're on your own, I'm gathering, when you do that.
I am. I went with my girlfriend, and I mean, and when I've been a twice dog owner, and that was where I would stop on the walk and let the dog just run and always come back. And first dog never did because it was a beagle. But it's very much a kind of place to pause. And if I've got a coffee, then I'll walk there, sit on the bench that I always sit on, and yeah.
Oh, I love that. Also,
there's a Henry Moore sculpture. As you look down, there's a beautiful Henry Moore, and then beyond that, up the slope, is Kensington Palace. So it's quite a view, really. It's art, history, nature, all in one.
May I just say nom, 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 nom. Thanks for unpacking that. That was beautiful. Also, I love the undercurrent of there being a sort of transcendental aspect to it as well.
Yeah.
Because of your spirituality and mindfulness and being present when you're there.
Game changer. That, by the way, that in the last 3 years has changed my life.
Do you want to say a bit more about that?
I tried to do various meditations, and it was all right. I did a play years ago with Michael Brandon, and he of Dempsey and Makepeace fame, and we did a great play. And he was talking about transcendental meditation, and he did some guided meditation with me, and that's the only way I felt I could get into it. And then a few years ago, I was just sort of kicking around on the internet, and a David Lynch Foundation thing came up, and of course I knew he was into transcendental meditation, and then I watched a bit, and then that turned me on to watching. Oh right, Jerry Seinfeld's been into it for 30 odd years, and various other people that I admired, and then of course the way the algorithm works, up pops the Transcendental Meditation Center in London. Would you like to go on a free 1-hour session? In terms of finding out more, I did. Then I signed up for it. And yes, it's one of those things you do have to sign up for. You do have to be given a mantra. But what is an amazing thing is that you can't do it badly. You can't do it wrong. You can do it anywhere. And I just find it's been invaluable. Especially if I'm doing shows like a matinee evening show, where I would normally have a little schluff in between, little sleep in between with meditation. You know, I might hit the gym for half an hour, come back, do 20 minutes of meditation, and I'm so alert for that second show, whereas it would always be an hour of kind of gathering yourself, get the engines going again in order to kind of focus. With this, it's like you just come out of the gate completely, all the synapses are firing, and physically and mentally you feel completely invigorated.
That's very inspirational to me personally, and I know anyone listening as well. It will be very inspirational. I'd love to talk to you more about that anon, because I completely relate to the fact it needs to be guided, because I think I'm probably at the cusp of, God, I'd love it if somebody could guide me through how to do
well,
that.
I have to stress, it doesn't need to be guided. When I was first doing meditation, I was guided.
Yes.
TM, there's no guidance at all. You're given your mantra, and it's just a repetition of it. You allow thoughts into your head. If they come in, if it's noisy, fine. Your repetition of the mantra just pushes them out. 20 minutes of TM is equivalent to 8 hours of the deepest sleep you can possibly have.
I need some of that, monkey. Love
Exactly.
that. And when you say given your mantra, is that something that's sort of personally attributed to you?
It is, and it's a simple word, and it's kind of just a phonetic word. That doesn't really mean anything. And because I've been doing it for a few years, I've added to that mantra with another word. So and that kind of strengthens it's an advanced technique, and you go deeper quicker. And I found that with the noise, with all the theatre opening, that I needed some more clarity and direct kind of descent into the transcendental state. And I got that with this extra mantra. You're not allowed to tell anyone what your mantra is. There's a kind of, but it's yours for life.
And how does it get allocated? I know that's a really clumsy way of saying it.
Well, I think personality types, what you want from it, because there's an interview process.
Yes.
And I presume there's a kind of well of phonetic sounds that work for certain personalities. So I always thought, wouldn't it be, not knowing what other people's are?
Yes.
I'm always curious. Maybe they've just got one and they're lazy and they just say you can never get anyone else. Are we all using Big Dog's cock as our mantra? But, it's it's worked for me, and I am, there's nothing, the zeal of the newly converted, but I will espouse the glory of it.
I love the idea of talking somebody into transcendental meditation. You had me at Big Dog's cock.
Yeah, exactly. I'll give you your own mantra. It costs 400 quid. Don't tell anybody. That's yours.
And can I commend you also for a storytelling hook? That was awesome. Thank you very much.
Great.
Okay, so we're in your clearing, which is Kensington Gardens. It's transcendental and it's literal, and it's where your ashes are going to go. And I just love that. Thank you so much. I'm now going to arrive, even though there's probably one there already, with a tree in your clearing. And this is, thanks to our theatre background, deliberately existential, deliberately Samuel Becketty. I'm now going to arrive with a tree in your clearing and shake your tree to see which storytelling apples fall out. How do you like these apples? And this is where you've been kind enough to interpret your 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise, which is 5 minutes. None of this is a memory test. To have thought about 4 things that have shaped you, 3 things that inspire you, 2 things that never fail to grab your attention. That's where a couple of random squirrels are going to come in. And then the 1 is a quirky or unusual fact about you, Steve Furst. We couldn't possibly know about you until you tell us. So over to you. As I said, it's not a memory test, but interpret the shaking of the canopy of your tree as you see fit.
So the first thing, the things that have shaped me, my musical background, I would say, is been incredibly important. Both my father and my stepfather were classical musicians of some repute, and so I grew up with that as my background, as an oral background and a literal background. But it's, so whilst I'm not a classical music fan, I have a knowledge of it, and I'm pretty au fait with it. And I learned various instruments. It's really shaped, I think, the way I hear, the way I listen, and my love of music, which is pretty much my deepest love generally. So that musical background, I would say, has been, when I would go to concerts as a kid, I learned to listen to the music. You learn to concentrate on it. I mean, I didn't always, but I was a good, it means I'm a good audience. I do engage.
Yes.
And when I've been on dates in the past, and you're like, they're clearly not listening, or they're not engaged with this. And even if you don't like it, I think, the respect that is needed of an audience is to engage with something. So that's number one.
There's a cadence of comedy in the cadence of music as well, in terms of rhythmic and punchlining. I completely get where that's coming from.
Well, and especially you doing improv, it's paramount, because it's like jazz in terms of your people are throwing ideas in, and you're having to pick up on them and then work together with someone. And then, even more so in improv than with anything else. I was a very late developer to learning lines and being an actor, because I didn't train. But that thing of, it's not enough to know your lines, it's knowing the other lines, and it's knowing how to react to the lines, of course. I mean, it's not rocket science, but it is listening, and listening is the most important thing. So, there's nothing worse than when you're filming something and they're turning the camera around onto you, and the actor who you were listening to previously is now not really listening to you because they're engaged in something else. Awful. You have to act against people that are listening and are open. So very important.
The greatest actors are the greatest listeners, completely.
Yeah.
And Rudy Shelley, my ancient European mystic acting teacher, would always say, acting is reacting. And he kept saying that, and absolutely categorically, yes, it flipping is.
Absolutely.
Lovely first shapeage. Thank you.
I would say college. I went to I realized I couldn't go to university. I had interviews for Bristol and Exeter, and was getting, A and 2B offers, and that was never going to happen, ever. So I discovered this kind of, there was a sort of lower strata of colleges, usually teacher training colleges, that offered drama as degrees. And there was a play. I went for an interview at King Alfred's College in Winchester, and there was one in I suppose Bretton Hall was sort of one, but there was one in Canterbury as well. There were one in York.
There was the Central School of Speech and Drama next to the Hampstead Theatre, if you remember as well. That's where I originally went.
Well, that was a proper drama school. So I knew I wasn't going to do a drama degree. I was going to go to a college rather than actually learning, but actually doing a vocational course. So I got a 2E offer for King Alfred's College, as it was then. It's Winchester University now. And I thought, I'll have a little bit of that. And it's small enough for myself and my best friend from school. We both went together to sort of take over within a year. We were running the newspaper, the TV channel, the radio station. It just was a place for us to flourish creatively, because it was small enough to do everything. And I loved that fact. I loved the fact that I could just sort of make use of the facilities in order to kind of start creating and doing what I'm still doing now.
Similar to the mantra of what's meant for you won't pass you by. That's so brilliant that of all the places in all the world, you went where you could do a bit of an EE takeover, as you said.
And it was that thing of instinctively knowing. I also love history, so I loved, or historical places. So I knew I wanted to be somewhere pretty and old. And Winchester is just that. But and this is at the height of Thatcherism, and you couldn't have got a more right-wing town in terms of jumbo cord wearing, braying posh people. But my God, it was beautiful, and I just loved the college, and I loved my time there so much. It was, and it really did kind of springboard me into doing what I'm doing. So yeah, very important.
Wonderful second shapeage. Shapeage number 3, please. There is a bell.
I would
lost.
I would say running my first cabaret club. I went into running nightclubs. I had a board games nightclub for several years, and then I ran a club called the Youth Club, which was like an old youth club. And then myself and business partner Mike, we knew that we wanted to do a cabaret club. That was just what we wanted to do. And so when I started the Regency, what became the Regency Rooms, then it was the birth of Lenny Beige in the mid-90s. That was what I knew I'd always wanted to do, and to realize that, and within a year to be in pretty much the greatest cabaret space in London, which was unheard of when we took it over.
Yeah.
It was in the same building as Cats, the new London Theatre, now the Gillian Lynn Theatre. It was astonishing. We could not believe that we'd chanced upon this place. And we were there for 5 years, with some of the greatest nights of my life. So that in terms of being a performer, getting some notoriety, getting a TV show, working with some legends as well, some childhood legends that I grew up with. It was the answer to my prayers, really. And so it was a combination of performance and writing and producing, and it was what made me, really.
And Lenny Beige is still there with you. And he's very present, ever present, Lenny Beige.
30 years. 30 years, 2 marriages and 30 years. Yeah.
And I know that it's welcome to the world of Lenny Beige. It gets better every year. And I think with where you're at now, with what's coming, and I'm intrigued often by something, one of my graphics knows, the idea of a second curve. We're all on a curve or a trajectory. As your curve begins to wane, what do you do to attach to your second curve that's going to pull you towards your future? I love the fact that Lenny Beige is still there, pulling you towards your future. Yeah,
I think he will. He kind of will. I stopped booking gigs because they became a bit of a nightmare, post COVID. And then I did a residency in Barbados at the beginning of the year. It was great. And I did a gig in Italy, and so I love doing gigs for other people where I don't have to promote. I can just turn up and do it, and no one has any preconceptions.
Yes.
But now I have the Circle and Star. I want there to be a regular Lenny night, and it just feels right. And in fact, we will be, as far as I know, the first theatre on our website to use an AI-assisted assistant, which we are calling Sadie, which is Lenny's mum. And we've been testing it this week, and it's extraordinary. So if you just put questions in, it will answer with the mouth of Lenny's mum.
Wow.
And so I put in "how's Lenny" as a test, 2 words, and it came back, "Who? My Lenny? Let me tell you, he's going to be here on the 20th of December. And yes, you'll know it's him warming up because you'll hear him say he's the only man who can rhyme Gloria with Menoria." I mean, it was just, it's sort of, things that, I mean, it's frightening, but also wonderful. So it's lovely to have a bit of beige on the website as well.
Love that. Also, you talk about Carpe Diem and seize the modern way of doing stuff and make it an all-purpose, all singing and dancing and AI-ified. So the fact you've got
comedy AI.
Comedy AI
for you, but with a kind of human touch that will make people smile as well.
And the warm, the human, and the connecting is the thing that's so important to keep alive while we're all terrified with what AI actually means in terms of, I mean, it can't do warm, and it can't be. The idea is it can't do knob gags yet, whereas we still can.
Well, I disagree. I think if I put in, it will. It's when you think about what it was doing, a year ago. It was pretty dry and dull. Now it's learnt so much. Yes, it's frightening, but I do like to harness technology and to use it in combination with what we are doing in a human way. I think the two can work side by side.
Of course, beautifully put. And of course, Circle and Star is all singing and dancing in terms of technologically savvy as well, because you've got it curated as a podcast studio as well, I'm gathering.
We are putting 3 cameras in to not only stream shows, to record shows, but also to do podcasting if people want. So that's really important, that we offer a space that is it's a digital stage as well. Yeah,
wonderful. So I think we've gone to Shapage number 4, please. Now,
number 4. I would say, being a late developer, I didn't do my first musical until I was in Matilda in 2012, and that was the steepest learning curve in so many ways. And I fell in love with being in musicals. I'm not a musicals fan particularly. I mean, I've got favorites, Guys and Dolls, Jesus Christ Superstar, but there are things. There was something about being in that musical which was the hottest ticket in town.
Yeah.
Where you have 1,500 people, at the end of the show, all jump to their feet, which I've never had since, and I probably will never have. that combination of just brilliant writing, extraordinary design, the orchestration, the amazing cast. I mean, all of it. So I was in the first, I came in halfway through the first cast, taking over from Paul Kay, and then I did another year with the first full cast change.
Yeah.
And it was such a happy time. It was extraordinary to be part of that, and yeah, it just taught me so much. And you know, and then I fell in love with, I always knew I wanted to be in the West End, but it really, you know, it absolutely compounded it. I'd done a couple of other shows before, theatre shows, loved that, but there was something about the size of the machine and how it
Yes.
is, you know, when it's oiled and it works in, you know, in tandem with, you know, all the departments with each other. It also sends you crazy, you know, doing, I did well over 600 shows, and it sort of sends you a little bit loopy. But my dressing room looked like this. I had instruments, I would be doing other work, I would be, you know, so I've never been very good at sitting on my ass doing nothing. I'm always having to try and learn something or do something new. So
and for those just listening, not watching, behind Steve, we've got this wonderful array of what looked like very different. Is that a bass guitar as well, or are they all
I've got a bass, acoustic, semi-acoustic. That's the red one, is the first guitar I bought in 1984, 85, which is a Japanese Strat, which
If
is
I may say, it looks very looks very Sultans of Swing, Mark Knopfler, that one.
yeah, I mean, it was a lot cheaper than his, but actually worth quite a lot now. But they're very desirable, even though I bought it for 200 quid new. Than a little ukulele. I mean, I've got, yeah, I'm always surrounded by it, and I've got a sitar over there. I've got a trumpet, which I don't really play, a violin, a bassoon. So yeah, I do. I'm happiest when I'm surrounded by instruments.
And do you bang stuff as well? Because I heard lots of, I heard brass, and I've got strings there. But do you bang stuff as well?
Sort of. I've got a cajon, but I'm not really a drummer. I love percussion, but yeah.
Because the cadence of comedy is also about banging the drummer stuff as well, in terms of rhythm. So anyway, I thought I know there's rhythm implicit in all sorts of music, but
well, absolutely. And I think, you know, you're right. And when you're writing, it's, especially if you're telling jokes, is specifically, you know, the economy of words is so important, and it is the difference of telling a really good joke badly or a really good joke well. You know?
Which inspires me to go badum at that point. Thank you very much. So that's perfectly, the badum, it ends the shaping, beautifully, deftly put. Now it's three things. We're still in the canopy of your tree. Three things that inspire you, Steve.
Okay. To a musical. One is I fell in love, and I can remember, I was telling the story a few days ago, when I went to college. A guy, a very, very dear friend of mine, Ravi, he had a, you know, an old kind of radio cassette machine, and I remember him going, "You have to hear this. You have to hear this piece of music." And it was The Cat by Jimmy Smith, the Hammond organ player, and I honestly thought I'd lost my mind. It was astonishing to me. This, you know, I'd heard a Hammond organ, but usually in a kind of cheesy connotation with a, you know, before a cinema at Leicester Square with the old Wurlitzer that would come up from, you know, the pit. But this, you know, jazz, funky jazz organ. And then I got into funky jazz organ, Jimmy Smith, Jimmy McGriff, Jack McDuff. There's lots of players now, you know, and then I realized, oh yeah, I used to like Deep Purple. Why did I like Deep Purple? Because it had a Hammond organ. John Lord played a Hammond organ. Why did I like the Charlatans? Because the Charlatans had a Hammond organ. So with all these different genres of music, but they all had a kind of common thread running through them. And I just love the Hammond organ. And
just say the name of the piece of music that was put into the cassette machine again.
The Cat by Jimmy Smith. And
sorry, the sound just snagged there. The Cat, did you say?
The Cat by Jimmy Smith. And it's an extraordinary, explosive kind of late 60s. It was a piece of soundtrack, but it's a, you know, all of his stuff he's an extraordinarily musical player. And then I went to see him a couple of times play live before he died, and you know, they've all gone, all the great players, of course. Yes. But there's just something about that instrument. Even now, when I see one, when I hear one, I get very, I mean, this can make a Hammond sound, but it's still not Hammond. I just don't have the space or the bank account for one. But I have a very dear friend with one of Pink Floyd's ex Hammonds that Rick Wright used to play, and it's just sitting at it on the wooden stool, and yeah, I love them. Absolutely love them.
Again, nom 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 for the second time. That's lovely. My podcast editor is absolutely brilliant at texturing in pieces of music, so there could be a bit of a gift to you at this point.
Nice.
Thank you. Second inspiration.
A great documentary. I love, by great documentary, I mean, it's obviously very subjective, but I do, for my character work, when I've done character shows, where I've done multi-character shows, all of my favorite characters are based, or the germ of the idea comes from documentaries, nearly always. So there were ones that I grew up with, that, because I had a big VHS collection as a teenager going into my 20s. And, you know, there were human interest stories or things about weird people or stalkers or whatever it was. Things that sometimes, you know, being slightly unpolitically correct, you laughed at, but you shouldn't have laughed at. But there were things that you were like, oh, I mean, these extraordinary worlds that, you know, that people would be delving into.
Sort of societal outliers, you mean?
Societal outliers, I'll take that. Absolutely. Yeah. And I just find human interest stories are the things that inspire me the most. More than reading, for me, it's a documentary, and it always has been. Documentaries now become a little bit too textured and layered, and or often about the personality, Louis Theroux or you know, whoever else. I always like the unseen documentary makers, the one that would just point the camera and let the subject talk.
Yes.
And I'm making a documentary myself at the moment about a friend's garden in Hastings, and I'm not in Vision at all. I don't want to be in Vision. I don't really want to even be heard in it. It's about the subject. It's not about the person making it.
Yes. And where do you go for your source material, wanting the more outliery ones?
YouTube,
of course.
I mean, you know, and the great thing is the internet's thrown up all the old ones that you know, that I'm like, oh, of course I couldn't find that anymore, so there it is. Or Vice, you know, for years Vice were doing some amazing work with weirdos and wonderful people and societal outliers. So yeah, it's an easier time than ever to kind of delve deep down that rabbit hole.
It's the world of the Mavericks as well, actually, which is, I know you'd get sucker from as an actor as well, because it's about being quirky and maverick.
Yeah.
Comic.
There's a guy who's got a channel on YouTube called Soft White Underbelly, American guy, and he interviews people on Skid Row, basically. So there's you know, drug addicts and people who are abusers and have been abused. He has absolutely no judgment as to who he will interview, and they're the most extraordinary interviews, because these are people that have probably never told their story to anyone other than, you know, a friend or whoever is listening, and they're deeply moving and very inspirational, but also you get the kernel of an idea from those stories, and yeah, I love that sort of thing.
That's a great second thing that inspires you. And I think a third thing now,
it's a musical one again. It's Northern Soul. When I first heard Northern Soul, I didn't know what it was. My friend had an LP, and why a middle-class Jewish boy from North London would get into what was ostensibly the preserve of people up north who worked hard for the week, and then on a Saturday night would go dancing, you know, in ballrooms that would reopen after midnight or 11 o'clock with no bar, but they would dance through the night, usually with diet pills to pep them up. But I think there's something about collectively hearing that music, which changed my life, and I still go to Northern Soul Dues now. I love it more than ever now. And you know, when I was working up north, and when I was working in Leeds, and when I was working in Leicester, I'll seek out the little ones in social clubs. I'll go buy them by myself. And there's something about that. People are always the most welcoming. That music loud in a big ballroom on a slidey floor. I love the dancing. It's the only music I dance to. I find it so uplifting and meditative as well.
So you're a North Londoner with a northern soul,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. I mean, there aren't many of us, I have to tell you.
Yes.
And now the beautiful thing is the scene is full
Yes.
of young people, and as you know, Bristol, there's a big contingent, and in London, there's some of the best dancing I've ever seen with under 25s, under 30s. It's so joyous, absolutely wonderful.
Great stuff. And now we're on to two things that never fail to grab your attention and deliberately borrow from the film Up, where the dog goes, oh, squirrels. You know, what are your monsters of distraction? What two things never fail to distract you, irrespective of everything else that's going on for you in your no doubt hectic and eclectic life, Steve Furst?
Old venues. If I see one, I need to know what was here. Why? Oh, is there? Oh, look, we can go around the back. Maybe we can see. You know, it's when I'm in them. If I'm ever filming in them, I can't be in that one space. I have to go off piste and explore. What was this? Was it a, you know? And I've always been obsessed with being in old venues, particularly not. I mean, I like old buildings, but there's something about this used to be a theatre. This used to be a social club. So there'll be a backstage, there'll be a this, there'll be a that. And that's never gone away. That only gets stronger and stronger. And even our little venue, the fact that it used to be a venue is these places, as you know, walls retain energy. And it's why when you go and you're buying a house, or, when you walk in somewhere and you get, not this place, they have an inherent vibe and soul.
And does Pentameters, as was, have some interesting little nooks and crannies?
It's a small space. I think it does. I think, and now we've cleared it. It's important sometimes to just take out stuff. I think they stagnated.
Yes.
The last 10 years, and it felt like it wasn't moving forward anymore.
Yes.
So to kind of remove that, but still keep the shell of it, and then bring in stuff that's new, I think that's you're reappropriating a venue is a really good thing to do. It really upsets me when they just become Weatherspoons or whatever.
God, yes.
Yeah.
And to your beautifully deftly put point about energy and the transference of energy, I think of all the people to walk past that day when you saw the sort of eviction notice, and the fact that you're now reinvigorating with new energy is really wonderful.
Yeah.
Second, squirrel?
Dogs. Absolutely obsessed by them. And I was saying yesterday how I really miss having one, but I just can't at the moment. And I'll stop everything to chat to dogs.
And you mentioned a beagle previously, and I know you've probably had the sad demise of two dogs if you used to be a dog owner.
Well, one was one went to the country. I'm pretty sure he did go to the country. Mr. Bojangles, the beagle, but there was a hard. Whenever you see the faces of beagle owners, they're all the same. There's just like walking them. They're a pain in the arse, and they're beautiful and lovely and brilliant with kids, but they are so single-minded when it comes to food that you can offer a platter of meat here. But if there's the smell of something old and rotting from 3 months ago across the road, the beagle will go for that. And it's a very frustrating space to be in, using logic with the beagle. Because
Mr. Bojangles as a beagle, I mean, what a great name. Was that you naming? Was that your name, or was it?
Well, I wanted to. So when he was a puppy, he had big paws, and I wanted to call him Pinter. Yeah. But then I might have been a bit of a theatre wanker for that. So I decided, no, Mr. Bojangles is an homage to my cabaret background as well. But and then
both of those answers are just great as to why.
Yeah, big paws, Pinter. The last dog I had was a whatchamacallit, was a soft-coated Irish Wheaton Terrier. And I have to say, a more perfect dog you could not get, and I adore them. And you don't see them very often. They're much more popular in America. But
what was his name? Her name?
Her name was Strudel. If it would have been a male, it would have been Schnitzel, but it was Strudel instead.
Of course, it was.
Yeah,
love that.
Yeah,
and no longer with us either. Schnitzel.
With my ex-wife.
Oh, so you still get to sit deep. Well, so that's an assumption.
Really.
You get right. Oh, you've gone. Where have you gone? You just got out the stream.
How weird. No,
How
I'm
weird.
there. I didn't touch anything.
I didn't evict you. What's
Anything.
going on? Well, that was lovely, but you're back, which is the important thing. Just in time for what's a quirky or unusual fact now is the one. So what's a quirky or unusual fact about you we couldn't possibly know about you until you tell us?
Look, I'm a lookalike obsessive. Am I still here?
You're still there. I'm looking at you.
Okay,
I can't see
my
me.
left-hand screen is me crying. I'm a lookalike obsessive, and I will sometimes not leave a room until I've got a lookalike in my head for everyone in that room.
Love that. And are you inspired about me?
Well, I mean, obviously you're giving off the coming vibe. I mean, that's fine, and that's a very good thing. There's there's also you see, I don't want to have to put. When people like, well, who do I look like? They'll invariably go, "Oh, thanks very much."
Alan Cumming, I'm there. I've been told that before.
Yeah, well, of course, because it's a very good lookalike. But no, I'm. That goes back to my best mate Mike and I. We would, when we take the tube to school, we'd always have to get everybody across from us, and it's never really gone away. It's one of the. It's a free game, and it's a free game that is joyous. And when you can have someone in your life to share it with, it's brilliant. And there's a little you'll have looks like Arthur Lowe given. It's always a given. So yeah,
I like that's the punchline. If it works, given. Yeah, given. Love that. Lovely. I was in the Scottish Highlands about 3 weeks ago, and that's the last time I got called an Alan Cumming. So it was someone filming a tri-venture, which was an extraordinary day of doing a canoe ride, a walk, and an e-bike ride all in one day for something called a tri-venture. And somebody was filming it to make it work, and it was just beautiful. And the cameraman kept saying to me, Alan Cumming, Alan Cumming. Anyway, incoming. So well done. We've shaken your tree, Steve Furst. Hurrah!
Thank you.
Now we stay in the clearing, move away from the tree. Next, we talk about alchemy and gold. You've been giving me this by the bucket load anyway, but when you're at purpose and in flow, what are you absolutely happiest doing in what you're here to reveal to the world?
Well, I'm sure it wouldn't be unusual in this podcast for you to hear being on stage doing what I do and surrounded by creatives doing what they love. There's something glorious about it when it works, and when it, even when you have a long day, you're like, but look at what we're doing, it's great.
Yes.
And so that's yeah. And then when you've got a great part in something, like when I did Oliver and played Fagin, it was like, just every night the relish of doing it. And it doesn't.
You may play him again as well, because obviously that is, talk about being born for a part. That's a compliment.
Well, thank you. You know what I've done? Because I didn't want it to be the last time I played him. And so I've written a show about Fagin, which I will be this year putting on at my theatre occasionally to build it up, but it's a show looking at the Dickens representation of Fagin in the first half, and then Lionel Bart's compare, contrast. It's multi-character. I'm interviewing myself, I'm lip syncing stuff, I'm writing a couple of new songs, I'm singing the old song, so, and then looking at the anti-Semitism of the part as well. It's a really it's a rich character. I've done a lot of research, and I think that could be a show which could run, or I could pick it up and tour it and do it wherever, because everyone knows who he is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Giving it the sort of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead treatment, as in what happens off stage, but actually into the world of Fagin.
Exactly.
Love that.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So, alchemy and gold. Now I'm going to award you with a cake. So, first of all, do you like cake?
Always love cake, of course. Of course.
You may appreciate this is actually when I was sourcing what to sort of hold up. This is a doggy toy, and it looks a bit like a carrot cake. So
it does, which I absolutely love. By the way, carrot cake would almost be up my top of my list.
And now you get to put a cherry on the cake with stuff like, what's a favorite inspirational quote that's always given you sucker and pulled you towards your future?
Great quote by the photographer Cecil Beaton. who said, "Be daring, be different, be impractical, be anything that will assert integrity of purpose and imaginative vision against the play-it-safers, the creatures of the commonplace, the slaves of the ordinary."
Boom.
Yeah.
Just
Love that.
that.
Love
Just
that.
that.
Just be yourself, be different, don't be afraid. Yeah.
Anyone listening, I'd encourage you to stop at this point, rewind that slice and play that again. That was beautiful. Lovely bit of cake. With the gift of hindsight,
Yeah.
what notes, help or advice, and you can pick when you go back and wrap your own arms around yourself enigmatically like a hologram, but what notes, help or advice might you proffer to a younger version of yourself, Steve?
Well, not only to myself, but I do it when I teach. It's like, please do not get hung up on the success of your peers and contemporaries, because it will drive you to distraction. The longer we have been in the business, and you and I are probably a comparable age, Chris, but we know that things happen at different times. There is a huge dollop of luck involved in what we do, and synchronicity. And especially in the kind of the performative arts, especially in comedy. Why are they doing a series when I've been doing it longer? Why are they there? And you just have to go, because that's the way it is.
Yes.
And if you are hung up about that angst, then you won't be doing your best work. You need to just keep believing in yourself and doing what you do, and only concern yourself with that, because anything else is extraneous nonsense.
Again, may I say boom and nom, 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 nom for a third time. That's just the most brilliant sage advice from somebody who's been there, still peddling the T-shirt in a really good way.
And never trust a man with a beard and no moustache.
That's, again, probably that's more important. That's more important than the first bit of advice.
Yeah.
Love that. So what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given, obviously by somebody else, is the clue in the construction of that question?
I don't know, because I wish I'd been given more advice as a younger man, and I sort of wasn't. But I think it was that you know, if it's that thing of determined self-belief. It is just, you know, it's don't get distracted by anything or anybody else or negativity around you. If you believe in something, then just go for it. I mean, it's not, you know, it's not unusual or new, but it's like, but you can't hear it enough.
Yes.
And which is why you need to surround yourself with people that are yes and people, rather than no, you know. And I have suffered for a long time for being that person of like, well, yeah. And it's like, no, I won't do that anymore. And I think the meditations help with that. I really do. Because I think in the past 3 years, I'm like, what else can we do? I'm much more like that, you know, rather than like,
yes, you become your own squirrel, and that's a compliment.
Yeah, good.
We're ramping up to Shakespeare in a minute to talk about legacy, but just before we get there, there's a lovely section now, clang, 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 called Pass the Golden Baton, Please. So now you've experienced this from within. Is there anyone in your network, in order to keep the golden thread of the storytelling going, that you might like to pass the golden baton along to?
Yeah, I mean, you're probably like, why have you put me forward? But it's my friend Mark Wogan, who is son of Terry.
Wow.
Mark has been a dear friend for about nearly 30 years, but Mark was always someone who I would go to, and still do, for advice. He's just one of those sage-like people. I just trust his judgment on things. I don't always agree with everything he says, but there's something about him. He was always the person that I would, when I first met him, I think because he'd been through drug and alcohol addiction as a really young man and then went into counseling himself, that he was someone who was a listener and just was a great supporter and believer in people. And he does a great podcast himself called Spooning, because he's a chef as well as a presenter, broadcaster.
I love the coziness of spooning. Let's do spoons. I love that.
Yeah. And he's just a really, really gifted human being, and a great speaker like his dad. And I've just got a lot of respect for Mark.
Thank you. That's a very precious golden baton pass and generous indeed. Thank you so much. Just before we get on to talk about the Shakespeare, this is a very exciting moment called Show Us Your QR Code, please. So for those watching, can you just talk us through where we can go and find out all about Steve Furst, particularly your new venture, Circle and Star Theatre? Tell us all about that.
Right. Well, I presume this is the QR code for the theatre.
It is.
It is. So you can also just put circleandstar.com. And that will take you to our website, but of course the QR code will as well. It'll give you a whole raft of shows that for the next 2 months, and it will also give you a mailing list. Please sign up. It is free. There's also a membership option which will help support the theatre ongoing. There will be members events, and as of this week there will be our AI assistant, who's Lenny's mum, Sadie Beige. So we are, I wanted it to be a website that looked lovely, that was interactive, and that you'd visit for a little bit of time. I mean, people don't really use websites anymore, but you need to for this in order to buy tickets. So, I know Insta is king, but we wanted a really lovely looking website because we're still a bit old fashioned like that.
And may I say, it is a lovely looking website, and there's a lovely gallery of collaboration there in who you've invoked in order to get the vision off the ground, a bit like a new rocket launch into new stage, new voices, new stories.
Thank you.
Lovely jubbly.
There's also stevefirst.com, but
well, I mean, also just
it's on it, but
just Google you and you'll find out the fact you've been there. You know your onions, and you've been there a long time.
Yeah,
Steve Furst, and the future's bright. It's beige as opposed to orange.
Well, sunny beige. Yeah.
Lovely. And are you still getting royalties for the orange commercials?
Oh, no. There was a buyout. It was a very healthy buyout at the time. That gravy train has long since left the station.
Lovely. Sorry, yes, it has. You're quite right. So now we go back to Shakespeare. Inspired by all the world is staged and all the bedded women merely players from As You Like It, Jake Weers. This is now, when all is said and done, Steve Furst. How would you most like to be remembered?
As a creative that's never really stopped being inspired and moving forward. And I hope by doing so, especially with this new space, that I invoke that inspiration and creativity in others, to provide a platform for them to also create what they've always wanted to do. And it would be an amazing thing to discover new talent and to maybe even produce shows as a venue going forward in other places that, you just kind of, I've always been very good at talent spotting, and I just want that to continue, and that to be my legacy.
Lovely. Keep on keeping on being awesome, being the sort of punchline of that. That's fantastic. Just a couple of announcements from me. You'll see I'm wearing a t-shirt which says, "What's your story?" There's a very exciting series strand to this show, which is called Legacy Life Reflections, which is to record your story or the story of somebody precious to you for posterity, lest we forget before it's too late. My own father, Colin Grimes, just to give you a personal bit of information, not you, Steve, but the audience, was my very first willing guinea pig about 5 years ago. My dad died a year ago, but now I still have his story, his recording, his podcast, using this creative structure that I've curated with the Good Listening To show, Stories of Distinction and Genius. I can't tell you how precious it is. There's a QR code there to look at legacylifereflections.com as well. If you'd like a conversation about being a guest on the show too, the website for my show is thegoodlisteningtoshow.com as well. As this has been your moment in the sunshine, Steve Furst, of the Good Listening To show, is there anything else you'd like to say?
That night of the 15th of April, I wasn't there.
He wasn't there. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Chris Grimes, but most importantly, this has been the delightful guest. Privilege, Steve. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed. I'll stop recording there. Good night. Where's the button? It's there somewhere. Where's the stop recording? Yes.
Pull out the plug.
End stream. Pull out the plug. Bye. So I'll end the stream there.